What's going on, everyone? Northstarcedh back with another video, and we're gonna go over our last event, the Sega Saga series at Dumpsercat Games. We did a top 13 cut, so we're gonna go over the top 13 deck lists, as you can see them here. But before we start this off, I've got a quick message and something that I want to share with everyone.
Hey everyone, I just want to share a quick update. If you have not seen yet, go to Google and type in Northstarcedh. The very first thing up on the top is our wonderful website with our featured Summer Classic at the Minneapolis Convention Center come July 18th and 19th. The other thing I wanted to share is the limited edition playmat that Snowball created. This playmat is on pre-sale right now for only $45. Day of, it's going to go back up to normal price. We also have our other events that are coming up. In the meantime, as you can see, the content creators, the vendors, our events, and our wonderful partners that are helping us. The other big news that we have is we have a merch store finally. And the big thing here is we teamed up with an artist to bring you something special. The artist is working on something super cool that I can't wait to share with everyone.
All right, so we're going to start off with 13th place with Tucker on Glarb. Now, Glarb is, we know it can be turbo, Gold can be turbo, Brigade can be turbo. We know Italian, Raph, and Mikey are turbo. We've got a bunch of value pieces in here. Opposition Agent, Italian, Seaborn, Unagi, Badger Cub is really cool. OBM. So, Scheming Symmetry with Opposition Agent, super cool. Choose two target players. Each of them searches the library for a card, then shuffle and puts that card on top. You get to control what they search for. So, and then you get to search for ones. Some stuff that normally seeing that we're used to seeing, I would say, as far as like the normal CDH stuff. Limdall's Vault, one that I'm a big fan of, that you usually don't see a lot of. So you can kind of sculpt the top of your library, and you're not really drawing it. Force of Vigor is in here, is super cool. Turn off those pesky Ristic studies or Underworld Breach lines. Typical artifact. Well, the one that we haven't seen in a super long time is Aether Flux Reservoir. It brings back a ton of good memories. Way back when, I know, when Aether Flux Reservoir was running around for the first time, it was so much fun. And then, of course, Bolas, the Citadel to go with it. One that I'm not sold on is Walk-in Closet. I'm not sold on it. Like, sure, in Cube, it's fine if you're doing, like, land destruction stuff. It's kind of fun, but I'm not sold on it. Just like I'm not really sold on Counterbalance anymore. Yes, you can, potentially slow the other players down by revealing a top card, and if with Sensei's Divining Top, you can dictate that. But it's the other thing too is like you're not advancing your game plan, you're only slowing the game down. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, I can't say it's bad, but at the same time, it's not gonna win you the game, it's only gonna delay the game. So only 25 lands on this list, which is, I think, is kind of crazy. Usually, like on a mid-range pile, we're gonna see like 27. So, but clearly it worked for him. And we do have some dorks in here, like Birds, Deathrite, Delighted, Elves of the Deep Shadow, Badger Cub, Bloom Tender. So 25 lands is probably the correct number with all of these dorks in here. So we're going to be ramping. Like, the only thing that I kind of expected to see that I didn't see was Kinnan in here. But just because with the dorks, it'll help ramp and progresses our game plan further. So, but always congratulations, Parker. Sorry, not Parker. Tucker, we'll get to Parker later. Tucker going 1-1-2, sneaking in to the top cut, and on his last round got the win in. So, congratulations, Tucker. Hopefully, we get to see more Glarb in the future. It's been far too long. All right, next we have Matt on Ishai Rograk. So this is the new hot deck that has been taking over with Rograk Ishai, Jeskai List, Hexing Squelcher. I can't say enough about this card. I love it. I don't think it's busted and needs a ban, but I'm a big fan of Hexing Squelcher. Big fan. Um, the big question here is Emrakul the Promised End. What is this doing in here? Because you have to cast it, so it's not like we can blink it. But yeah, why? This is my big question. Why is Emrakul the Promised End in here? I understand Hullbreaker, you know, I get that. Valley Flood Caller, I get it. Everything else, typical. Not a fan of Tataru Taru, but I understand Tataru Taru in here because we do need to make some extra tap treasures, which obviously their tapped isn't the best, but it can help us. Flash photography has been one that I've been liking more and more that I've seen it. Louis Sacrifice, Silence, Redirect Lightning, Firestorm is one that we don't ever see. Additional cost to cast a spell, discard X card. Firestorm deals X damage to each of X target creatures. Disrupting Shoal, Snapback, we're starting to see more. Gifts piles, sinking Intuition piles. Commandeer, Misdirection, yes please. No One Ring, we don't need it. Smothering Tithe, Ristic, Copy Enchantment, Breach, yep. Curse of Opulence. The champ player, when a player is attacked, create a gold token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. I mean, if I'm incentivized to attack a certain player and I'm going to get a gold token out of it, might just happen. So, I like this one. Kind of spicy. Something that we're not used to seeing. We hardly ever see this card. So, I'm a fan of it. 24 lands. This is the one where I get a little skeptical when we're this low on arguably a, I don't want to say mid-range, but that's kind of what this feels like. I don't feel like this is turbo. We do have like Ranger Captain for protection, Esper Sentinel's draw engine, so like I don't see it being a full-on turbo, but I still think it's more mid-rangey. We have all of the counter spells, and then obviously the two big silence effects. I would say that's probably up the land count a little bit, but what do I know? It worked for Matt, so maybe he knows something that I don't about the bird as the word. So, but no, congratulations, Matt, getting sneaking in there with 1-1-2. Clearly, he's onto something. He knows what he's doing. Joffrey on Walmart Blue Farm. It's 11 the Mage and Mike the Dungeon Master. If you haven't seen the deck tech of this, we did it in the past videos. Go check that out as we do a deeper dive with Jeff about what's going on, different choices, what we're looking to do. But it's a 5-color list that plays some crazy cards. So Emergent Ultimate, Appear in the Abyss, Expropriate, and Enter the Infinite. And we're looking to cast those with 11 the Mage. So all you have to do is do attack trigger. We don't really care if it's going to live or die. But if you 11 or more cards in your hand, you may cast an instant sorcery from your hand without paying its mana cost. So obviously we want to draw a lot of cards, so that's why Wan Chi Tong is here, Fairy Mastermind. And we'll get to some other cool cards in here. We are on Intuition lines. We do have Breach in here. One Ring, Ristic Study, Necro, Mirror Maid. So trying to get to 11 cards. We have our engines. Get to 11, cast a free spell. If it's Emergent Ultimatum, we grab one of these 3. And then we can usually win the game from there. And whether it be Thoracle or Breach lines, it doesn't really matter one of those two ways. The likelihood that he's able to whiff is pretty low, but the hard part is getting to 11 cards in hand, and so that's usually the hardest part of this deck is getting to 11 cards in hand, casting 11, and passing the turn from there. So, no, congratulations, Jeff. Always love to see Walmart Blue Farm make an appearance and do well. Been a big fan of this, and Jeff has been on this for what seems like forever at this point. Parker on Blue Farm. Parker's brought this plenty times in the past. Typical Blue Farm list at this point. We've got Tataru Taro and Lotho, Voice of Victory, Archivist. Sometimes they're playing Archivist. I think Archivist is a flex spot at this point. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Flare Duplication. It's a new one, I believe. Intuition Lines, Gifts Lines, Adnaz Force. No One Ring. No copy enchantments, just Necro, Breach, Rhystic, Smothering Tithe, and Fish. 27 lands. At this point, it's basically old reliable. All you have to do is get proficient at one deck and continue to be proficient, and you can do well just about any event that you go to. I'd argue that, as we've seen Jeff, he's been on Walmart Blue Farm since forever at this point. He's consistently done well every time he's able to come to an event. Same thing with Parker. Consistently plays Blue Farm. Is always a threat, always a talented pilot. Both of them are. And it's one of those ones where it comes down to of turn order and who has interaction, who has, the win attempts. So both pilots are fantastic, and that's where I'd argue of if you consistently play a deck, get really good at it, and you can do well in just about any event. You don't need to play Blue Farm because this is the only Blue Farm on the list. No, congrats, Parker. Yeah, Parker was the only Blue Farm that made top cut. And now we go to Kinnan, the only Kinnan that make top cut. So we've talked about this one in the past. This list is all about making infinite mana as fast as possible, and then winning through Kinnan flips to hit Thrasios, and then we can either go find Walking Ballista, or we can go play Thoracle. I know there's a lot of people that have played Kinnan before, that have piloted Kinnan, that can't stand that I have that Dawson Walking Ballista in there. It's an easy I win the game. There's no arguing over it. Arguably there's no misplays. It's incredibly difficult to misplay if you're going to win with Thassa or Walking Ballista, because you may have infinite colorless mana. You dump 100 million into it, and the only reason you can still counter it, but usually you've got all of your counter spells at that point. So, but like I said, it's an easy I win the game, and that's why it's in there. If I flip into it, oh no, it's not the end of the world. I'm not into big flips anyway. If I'm doing flips, I'm looking for a value piece like Consphinx, even Hullbreaker Horror, Seedborn Muse, or even Formidable Speaker. That's been a fantastic card. But Thrasios is great. Yeah, I just win the game if I hit Thrasios. But letting me only have a couple flips with infinite mana isn't the end of the world. Or even doing Kinnan flips, it's not the end of the world. I'd rather be doing, Thrasios spins, but this way I can try to find something. So we have some stuff that we're used to seeing. Soul Cauldron. So the big line of text that we care about here is you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate abilities of creatures you control. The rest of it we don't really care about. It's that first line of text that we care about. So that means with Basalt, Kinnan, and Agatha, we just win the game because we have infinite colorless. Agatha says we can use it as however we want. One Ring is just a value engine here. Freed, and then Aura to help make infinite mana. So the big thing here is Kinnan, Birds of Paradise, and then Freed or Aura. The other thing, because we have Enduring Vitality, it works the same way. 25 lands, that's all we need. We have a ton of dorks. There's been multiple times where I'm pushing win attempts with only one land. So it can definitely get there. Cannon's really only scary when you have infinite mana, and then people freak out. I wonder why. But no, I've been having a ton of fun with this list. So, and then the feel bad part was the 103. Like that's the feel bad part, because every time there was the three draws came, or well, the two draws came from where multiple people at the table have win attempts, and it's one person has interaction to stop one, but not for both. So that's where it's just like, all right, we're gonna king make someone, so draw. So usually how that goes. Next we got Danny on Winota. Winota's one that we have not seen in what feels like a very long time. And the funny thing is, I want to say this is basically Sarah's list, the local Winota expert, as I would call them, and she is easily a talented pilot, as producing top cuts before with Winota. Nothing like crazy out of the ordinary. We do have infinite combats. We have some stacks pieces in here. Phyrexian Sensor, Magus the Moon. This one I'm not used to seeing. First Strike Trample. One deals combat damage to player until turn. If sorcery cool deal damage to a permanent, that player deals double that damage instead. Extra damage, extra damage. Winona's always scary. Silence, Redirect, Pyro, Path, Flare Fortitude, Breath of Fury. One I haven't seen. Enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player. Sacrifice and attach this to a creature you control. If you do, untap all creatures. And if there's phase or additional combat phase. Got it. I get it. 27 lands, couple stacks pieces. Yeah, if you want to play creatures and just swing, Winona's definitely one of those decks. And it's arguably you could do stacks. Canonist, Drannith Magistrate. I'm always terrified of when there's a Winota pilot at the table, as stacks. Not a fan of stacks pieces, but congratulations, Danny. All right, next we've got Dolan on Derevi. We haven't seen Dolan in a while. I'm glad he made it back out to an event. Holy cow, Dolan. 33 creatures. All right, let's start this off. We have there it is. So we have ways that we can do infinite mana. So Faboro Elder, Bloom Tender, our commander Drevi, and Emil the Blessed. So we're looking at making infinite mana by tapping the Faboro Elder. If we have Derevi out and Faboro Elder, for each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color. So it does go neutral. We're not going positive on mana until we have Kinnan, for example. That's how we're going to go positive on this. Otherwise, we have Roaming Throne. The big thing here is if a triggered ability of another creature control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. That's why we see where'd it go? Delny. Creatures control power 2 less can't be blocked by creatures power 3 or greater. Don't care about that. If the ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Well, lo and behold, Revi's a 2/3. So the big thing here is we have ways to make infinite mana. So if we don't have Kinnan, and we have Delny or Roaming Throne out, we can go positive on mana that way. Making infinite mana through that way. And then obviously we've got Kinnan to cycle through our deck to find what we need. But then we eventually get to Chittering Dispatcher. When this creature leaves the battlefield, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice this token. We're eventually going to make infinite spawn creature tokens. We can eventually flip into Fairy Mastermind to draw what we need to find the missing pieces. So one of the missing pieces that we're gonna need is like Finale Devastation. Infinite mana, dump it into Finale Devastation with infinite spawns. And I say, we don't need squirrels where we're going. We're gonna make Eldrazi spawns. That's right, you're gonna lose by Eldrazi spawns. Silence effects, Sea Tutor, Chromatic Ori, helps make infinite mana. Pod to go find what we need. Smothering Tithe, ramp, 26 lands. And stickers because stickers. False Dawn. I can't remember the last time I've ever seen this card. Colored mana symbols of all permanents you control and other cards that own are to play become a white until end of turn. Draw card. Dolan always brings some crazy hotness that he does well with because, let's face it, Dolan's part of the mad scientist that brews some crazy nonsense, and we'll get to another one in the coming up. But congratulations, Dolan. I can't wait to see more decks that you decide to bring to our future events because it's always a joy to see what you come up with. Now we have a new one, Matt, on Raph and Mikey. So, Raph and Mikey, for those that don't know, when Raph and Mikey attack, reveal cards on the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking, and the rest on the bottom of the library in a random order. So as you can see, we don't have a lot of small creatures. We have a lot of big creatures. Kona, Treasonous Ogre, Naheb, Port Razor, Blightsteel, Ulamog, Eldrazi Titans, Ancient Copper Dragon, Ruikthar, Old Navon. Some big fat ones in here. The big thing here is we're looking to go and make near infinite combat steps. So Port Razor, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, untap each creature you control. After this, there's an additional combat force. Port Razor can attack a player it has already attacked this turn. So by the time after the first one deals combat damage, triggers an additional one, and then keeps on going. So we've got a ton of ramp in here to help get us to our commander because, let's face it, we don't have a lot of low mana casting costs. So Geosurge, Rite of Flame, Ironcrag Feet, overpowering attack is to help with the extra combat. An extra Seize the Day is an extra combat, removal, Pyroblast, protection, ramp, lots of ramp, Final Fortune. Protection, lots of ramp, protection, infinite colorless mana. Right? No, we don't have cannon. So it's just extra mana. So we've got key, manifold key, dampening sphere, blood moon, carpet, aggravated assault, extra combats, 26 lands. So after seeing what Raph and Mikey can do, I don't know what's scarier, honestly. Atali or Raph and Mikey. Like, technically both are both non-deterministic, but with Atali, we're just looking to copy Atali a bunch of times, where this one we're trying to do infinite combat. Well, not infinite combat, but enough combat to kill the table. Which, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's scarier, honestly. They're both terrifying. So, Matt, you did a fantastic job. As always, Raph and Mikey is clearly scary. It's just another one that we have to watch out for. Now, we got one that we haven't seen in forever. Godo. Ahmed piloted Godo, Bandit Warlord, and it's terrifying. When Godo comes into play, search your library for an equipment card, put it on a play. If you do, shuffle your library. Whenever Godo attacks the first time, untap it, and all samurai control after this, so you get an additional combat phase. So this one we're trying to do infinite combat as well. Hexing Swelter's been a new one that's been here that's been fantastic. But with the equipment from Godo, it comes in, we are going to go find Helm of the Host more times than not. There's obviously some other cards in here that not used to seeing in CDH, like Forsaken Monument, Honor Worn Shaku, Diviner's Wand. We have a ton of equipments in here. Conqueror's Flails Protection, Throne of Eldraine. That's a new one. 24 lands. Attach target equipment to a creature. Removal, ramp. Lots of ramp. Blasphemous Vac for all those pesky Cradle decks. Wheel. The other lines too, we obviously have Dual Caster Mage with Twin Flame Heat Shimmer to and Molten Duplication for another win line attempt. But no, I mean Godo's scary. Ahmed did a fantastic job. Anyway, Ahmed, I want to see more Godo, and I want to see you more at future events. I'm excited to see Godo again. Hopefully, you put more people on notice on Godo. 2-1-1, you did a fantastic job. All right, now we start with the top 4. Ellie on Kefka. So Ellie was playing Kefka, Court Mage, Grixis good stuff, and turns out Displacer Kitten in Kefka is pretty terrifying. It is quite terrifying and entertaining at the same time. As long as you can cast a spell, cast a non-creature spell, exile up to one target non-land permanent you control, and return to the battlefield under its owner's control. Well, whenever Kefka ETBs or attacks, you do the thing. So people don't have hands, and you have all of the hands. So then you can just do whatever you want. Besiege, Windfall, Toxic Deluge, typical Grixis stuff we're used to seeing, Tainted Pact, One Ring, Vexing Bauble, Rhystic, Necro. 27 lands. Kefka is definitely still scary. I'm glad Ellie brought it. She did fantastic on it. And I'm looking to see more Kefka because I don't think enough people respect how good Kefka is. Yes, we have Rogsai, which is arguably the fastest Grixis deck. I'll be specific. But you have to respect Kefka. It does some shenanigans. And those shenanigans are Grixis good stuff. And when you don't have a hand to stop anything, kind of locked out of the game when you're just in top deck mode. Congratulations, Ellie. You did a fantastic job. I can't wait to see more Kefka. All right, James. We come to Chunky. As I said with Raph and Mikey, with Matt, I don't know what's scarier. Clearly, you did better than Matt, so I'm going to have to say Atali's a little scarier. And I got to see how scary Atali can be. Was not expecting a turn 1 Atali, as they were seat 1, turn 1 Atali. It was terrifying, and I had nothing for it. Fan favorite Hexing Squelcher, Dual Caster Mage Lines, Treasonous Ogre, Ryona, Squeeve for Food Chain, Hellkite, Apex Devastator, Cascade. 4 Cascades. That is absurd. Modification. Broadcast Takeover. Gain control of artifacts your opponents control until a turn. Untap them. They gain haste until end of turn. I don't think I've ever seen this card yet. That could be terrifying. Bunch of ramp. Some more ramp. Curse Mirror. Food Chain. Underworld Breach. Cream of the Crop. 27 lands. For those that haven't gotten to experience how scary Atali can be, you saw Food Chain and Squeeze, so we just do the Food Chain lines, make infinite mana for only creature spells, and then we just sacrifice Atali, and then your opponents have to exile their library, and then you just pass the turn, and then they have nothing in their library. That's usually the easiest way to do it. Obviously, if it's in time, you can't really do that when time is called, but there's other ways to get around that. And that's usually just going until you hit Dual Caster Mage. We have other ways that we can win. Chunky is terrifying. Like I said, the only reason I think Chunky is a little bit more terrifying is because you played Atali turn 1 and got third from that. So I think it's slightly scarier. All right, next we have another mad scientist, Levi on Brigid. Now, the reason I call Levi a mad scientist is because he doesn't like to play meta decks. He's played Tayam, he's played Glarb in the past when Glarb came out, and now Brigid. So with Brigid, the big part is on the backside of Brigid is producing white or green. It's basically a cradle on a creature. We have Sea Cradle Witch for 2 colorless, a green and a white. Target creature gets +3/+3 until on a turn. Untap that creature. The big thing here is making enough mana to untap it. That's the big thing here. Queer and Ranger, bounce a forest, untap it. The only downside is we can only do this once. Same thing with Wirewood Symbiote. Badger Mole is a big value piece. Collector Oof is stacks piece. Destiny Spinner. Make sure you read the card because creatures and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. Reading the card helps you understand what it does. Made that mistake. Because who plays Destiny Spinner? Mad Scientist. A lot of stacks pieces in here. Protection spells, Grand Abolisher. So another one is Tower Scout that helps untap it. And then we have Village Bellringer. So we have Emil the Blessed. We can tap our commander for how many ever color, green or whatever we want to do. Pay 3 to blink Tower Scout or Bellringer to then untap our commander and then do the thing to make infinite mana. And then we have things like Beast Rider Vanguard for 4 colorless and a green. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Reveal a permanent card from them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom. Well, we've got 52 creatures, 3 artifacts, 2 enchantments, 1 battle, 26 lands. So the odds of us whiffing here with 15 instant and sorceries it's very low. It's low. Yeah, the other thing that's kind of cool is that with our Badger Mole Cub and Cradle, if we Earthbend the Cradle, we can then untap with the Tower Scout to make infinite green that way. And then go through Vanguard that way just to find what we need. I'm probably forgetting, missing some other lines. Ooh, Umbral Mantle. That's a nice one to make a infinite. Deafening Silence, Survival. But like I said, Levi's a mad genius when it comes to decks like this, like non-meta decks, and this one is terrifying. If you're ever in a pod with Levi, just make sure you read every card that he plays. Because there's, if you don't read the card and remember what it does, you might have a bad time. But congratulations, Levi, for getting second in this event. All right, let's talk about numero uno, the winner, Kai on VV. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say this is the same list from the individual that has their name on Top Deck as Banristic Study. I did some digging in, and arguably the best VV pilot out there. They've been basically steamrolling VV through these bigger tournaments that they've gone to, and they are currently second on points for Top Deck. They might know what they're doing. And Kai is a fantastic pilot. He's won multiple events in the past. I know one that in the past that he's won on was Kefka. So playing VAV, there's no surprise that he did very well at this one. I'm no expert in VV here, but we have some stuff in here that we can basically just go and win paying the table through. Niv Visionary. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat to an opponent, you draw that many cards. So it's another way that we can, turn through our deck in Manual Storm. Tandem Lookout. As long as it's paired with another creature, each of those creatures has whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. Some of the stuff with Manual Storm. Last Chance, Strike It Rich, Rite of Flame, Jessica's Will, Gambit, take an extra turn. 33 instants. If you like to sling some spells, this is the one that's for you. Blazing Shoal is super funny in here. You may exile a red card with mana value X from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Target creature gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn. Well, we have some red spells. Pyrokinesis, Invert. Both are 6 mana. If we exile that into Blazing Shoal, targeting Vivi, we can press the Vivi button a little bit more. Bunch of free mana spells in here. Virtue of Courage. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, exile that many cards from the top of your library. You may play those this turn. Kind of like Ob Nixilis, but in enchantment form. Ristic, Ophidian Eye, and Curiosity go hand in hand with Vivi. So, and then Fish Drawing. Only 21 lands. This is where I start to ask questions. I understand, we want to go fast. We want to push the VV button and just cast all the spells and ping the table down. But 21 lands. This is the where I have questions. But hey, it works. I'm not gonna argue. I think intuition lines are a little awkward, but hey, I'm no expert on VV, nor do I claim to be one. Know something that I don't. And like I said, Kai is a talented pilot, winning the whole event. So I'm looking to see Kai in more events, and it's always of, all right, is it BB? Is it Kefka? What kind of deck is Kai going to bring? I'm excited. I want to see more of decks that Kai decides to bring, as it's always entertaining watching Kai pilot and politic the table. But congratulations, Kai. Everyone that made Top Cut. I can't wait to see everyone at future events. I want to see more Top Cut placements from everyone, as we have some talented pilots. And like I said, with this top 13 that we did, it's hard to say that Turbo doesn't exist. Like, yes, we have some mid-range decks like Blue Farm. You can call Glarb mid-range if you want. Walmart Blue Farm is obviously mid-range-y. We know what it can be turbo. Gold, it can be turbo. Brigade can be turbo. We know Italian, Raph, and Mikey are turbo. Grix is good stuff with Kefka. Vivi just does the thing. All very talented pilots. Can't wait to see what they come up with next and what they bring to future events.